looks like we're the first ones up. Mm-hmm. Well, maybe we should get started with brunch. Mm-hmm. Well, I was thinking, some omelets, maybe chorizo and some squash blossoms from the garden. Mm-hmm. Chilaquiles and a big pot of Café de Olla. Mm-hmm. Mango tart.
Wait, what did you say?
I knew that'd get your attention.
I was paying attention. I was just multitasking. You said brunch, chilaquiles, Café de Olla, omelets. Quite a spread.
Well, we've got the three of us. We've got 4 people staying here. I've invited a couple of other people. I wanted to do something kind of special.
Why? What's the occasion?
Brunch, just kind of hanging out, taking a little mini vacation from life.
Okay.
Like when we're in Mexico, and we go to some great little cafe and have one of those brunches that starts around 10 and can go on until the afternoon. Those little homey, comforting, savory dishes. I don't mean just salty, I mean really savory, full of flavor. Stuff like chorizo, eggs, beans, cheese, salsa, fresh tortillas, avocado. All that wonderful fresh fruit, fresh squeezed juice, maybe some homemade granola with that honey drizzled on top of it.
Yeah, or those hotel brunch buffets where you just keep going back for more and more.
Right, and it's also fresh and beautifully displayed. You're relaxed, you're on vacation, you're in Mexico. Life is good. That's the occasion that we're creating this morning. We're gonna put together a fabulous brunch buffet, and it's gonna be just like taking a mini Mexican vacation right here in Chicago.
Sounds ambitious.
Well, not if you give me a hand. Suit up. Okay, I thought since we don't have a lot of time that we should make that caramelized mango tart, the one that's got the chocolate and pepita filling in it. So while I cut up and caramelize the mangoes, why don't you measure out everything? I put the recipe right there. Measure out everything for the chocolate filling. Okay, so mangoes, caramelized mangoes, not a hard thing to do. I'm gonna put a skillet on here that we're going to caramelize the mangoes on, and I got a couple of mangoes here that are just at the right stage. They don't want to be too soft, just a little bit of give there, because we want them to hold together really nicely when they're caramelizing in that pan. So the first thing, of course, is to peel the mango. Now the pit is oriented in the long direction of the mango, so I'm going to cut just off center right down on the other side of that pit. Cut some nice pieces off the end into long strips like that. Now I'm going to take a little butter here and put it in that hot pan. I want it to start to brown almost instantly before I add the mango pieces. Okay, so it's starting to brown nicely. In go these spears of mango. And we're going to toss all of that around for a couple of minutes as the mango starts to brown. And I'm going to sprinkle it with a little bit of sugar and let them caramelize beautifully. Those smell amazing. Turn those off, let them cool a little bit. Lanie, tell me what you're up to.
Well, for the filling, I've chopped the 2 different kinds of chocolate, the Mexican chocolate and the bittersweet chocolate. And then we're gonna pulse those, and I'm gonna add some toasted pepitas and almond butter.
Get busy.
And finally, the almond butter.
I love that nutty combination of all that stuff.
Me
I guess you could probably use peanut butter in there, couldn't you?
This is a little bit softer, a little bit more almost liquidy.
Then peanut butter.
Then peanut butter.
Yeah,
So I
yeah.
think it might make it a different consistency.
Hand me that, I'll get it out of your way. Yeah, okay.
And mix it all up.
Okay, so now we got to get on to the dough, and since we don't have a lot of time, I thought we would start with puff pastry.
Ooh.
Already made puff pastry as the base of all of this. Okay, so 1 sheet of puff pastry. Gonna be all we really need. There's a couple of them in here. Okay, now what I'm gonna ask you to do is to unfold this, but real gently, real carefully, so it doesn't break apart. Now, I'm gonna cut it into 2 rectangles here. Now grab that baking sheet that's right behind you.
Okay.
Very nice. Okay, you get half of this chocolate mix and I get half of it. And we're just gonna use fingertips to kind of spread it out, but leave a full inch border all the way around. And then we gotta put some mango on top of each one of them. Okay, the oven door is open for you if you want to slide them right in there.
So how long does it take for them to cook?
Oh, about 25 minutes.
Perfect. Just enough time for me to finish the Sunday paper.
I'm gonna go get some herbs in the garden. Of course, everybody knows that growing some herbs in your backyard can lead to some pretty delicious food. And really easily, I mean, you could just chop up some fresh herbs and add them to a salad dressing. You could put them in a salsa or maybe throw some into a soup pot. Very simple, very tasty stuff. But a lot of people overlook the use of herbs as decorative plants in their garden. In fact, we rely on this stuff, this flat leaf parsley, to make borders and other decorative plantings. They're beautiful done that way. A lot of times we'll put them underneath other taller plants and they kind of bush out and they look really beautiful and you can just harvest right from there. So don't overlook that. But of course we came out here to get some herbs to mix into the eggs for making omelets, and I'm gonna go for a kind of nice mix of things. I'm gonna start with a little of this flat leaf parsley. It's a kind of strong flavor, so I don't want to get too much of it. And then I've got some of the traditional round chives. They always make a nice addition to egg things, but did you ever see these flat leaf chives? The ones that they call the garlic chives, and used a lot in Mexico and in Southeast Asia. I like to chop them up and mix them into stir fries, but here's another really cool thing you could do with them. Oil them a little bit, and when you're grilling something, put a whole handful of them on the grill and let them soften like you would let green onions soften. Absolutely delicious, just chopped up and sprinkled right over the food. So I'm gonna get some of those garlic chives as well as the round chives because they're going to add a different kind of flavor. This cilantro's looking really pretty. Get a little bit of that. And there's some basil that's calling at me right now because that's always delicious in eggs. So we're going to wash these and then chop them up, mix them into the eggs, and get ready for some other really special ingredients. In fact, I got one in mind right now. It's the one that I call the bacon of Mexico, chorizo. Okay, my idea here is to focus on chorizo omelets with roasted poblano peppers. So I'm gonna get the chorizo cooking first here. In roasting of those poblano peppers, cut open this Mexican chorizo sausage. It's a fresh sausage, but of course you gotta cook it. Pull out a skillet over kind of a medium heat. No real need to put any fat in that at all, and we'll let that cook away there while we turn on the back burner over the pepper roaster and lay a couple of poblanos on there. Okay, you might think I'm crazy, wanting to do omelets for a dozen people. And I thought, well, maybe I am really crazy because that's gonna mean that I'm gonna find myself in the kitchen the whole time while all the guests are in the dining room having a great time. And that's when I remembered, we could just do what they do in the hotels. We could set up an omelet station and I could be right there in the middle of all of the action. And the one thing that's going to allow me to do that is this portable butane burner that I have. These things are really inexpensive. I bought this at an Asian market, but you can also find them at a lot of the restaurant supply houses. So that's going to be my ticket to moving all of the action right in to where the action really is with all of my guests. And then I was thinking we were going to focus on chorizo and roasting of peppers for this, but my idea here was to sort of create a real Mexican flavor, and my favorite breakfast dish in Mexico is huevos rancheros. So I thought we should make a kind of huevos rancheros sauce that we could put over the top of the omelets. So I'm going to do a real simple version of that. I'm going to start here by chopping up a couple of cloves of garlic and cut a couple of serrano peppers, just doing them finely chopped. Okay, the pot goes over about a medium heat here, and then I'm going to film it with just a little bit of oil, add the chopped garlic and serrano chili to it, and let that just soften while I check the poblanos. I think those are just about ready. I'm going to turn those off and do a final little stir here on this chorizo sausage. And now on to the tomatoes. Easy thing about this roasted tomato sauce is that now I can buy roasted tomatoes in a can, making all of the preparations for that classic Mexican flavor super easy. So that'll just go right into the blender here. Like that. And I'm going to pulse them just until they are kind of a coarse puree. Okay, our garlic and serrano chilies have begun to release their aroma into the kitchen. I'm starting to brown just a little bit. It only takes about a minute there. And I'm going to pour into that pot this almost pureed roasted tomatoes. Now stir that around, and I'm going to let that cook until it's reduced to the consistency of tomato paste. Okay, now all I lack in the preparation of the sauce is a little bit of chicken broth to thin it out. If you're going to make this all vegetarian, just use some vegetable broth in it. I'm going to let this simmer now. It should be sort of the consistency of a cream soup. Let it simmer for about half an hour or so. I'm going to come back and check the seasonings on it right before I'm ready to serve it. Now all we have left is the egg mixture for the omelets. I'm going to whisk together some of these eggs in a proportion of 2 eggs to a tablespoon of this beautiful, rich Mexican crema. You know, the one that has that wonderful kind of nutty flavor to it. Add some salt and pepper, chop up all those herbs that I brought in from the garden, and that'll all be ready. Then right before the guests arrive, I'm going to scoop all of the different filling options into decorative bowls. Okay, the biggest challenge for most home cooks when they're trying to set up a buffet that looks professional, especially if you want it to be an active cooking station like I want this one to be, is how to set up the table. A few tips from the caterers. Okay, number 1, get an old folding table. This is a 6-foot folding table that I keep out in my garage just for occasions like this. And then cut some pieces of PVC pipe. These are cut 12 inches. And we're going to use them as table extensions to raise the table up to a beautiful and dramatic height. So I'm going to lift the table here and slide these underneath. And then on the other side. And then to cover this table, you could use a couple of bed sheets, and I'm going to show you how to make them look like a real professional table covering. So I'm going to unfold this bed sheet over here, and then I'm going to let it drape all the way to the front here, just about like that, just to where it sort of almost grazes the floor. Now I want the end to be down to about that same level. And then picking it up right here, I'm going to show you how to make a box corner. Very professional looking table covering. So I'm going to grab it so that it comes out even at the floor level, right there. And then I can just pull this around, grab a straight pin, and pin it to secure it right here. Okay, so we're going to set up our omelet station over here. This is going to be absolutely perfect, very dramatic for that. And then by the fireplace, I was thinking that I would serve some Café de Olla. Now the Café de Olla is the old cowboy coffee, originally made just by bringing some water to a boil and then dumping in the coffee, some sugar, some spices, letting the whole thing simmer away until you had a pretty staunch brew. But I've come up with a way to kind of refine that whole thing, and I'm going to start by making a sugar syrup with all of the spices in it. A cup full of water goes into saucepan over about a medium heat. And then the sugar that I'm going to use for this, it's the famous piloncillo of Mexico. You know, that completely unrefined sugar that's got such an incredibly rich flavor. I'm going to put that in there along with a couple of cloves and some of the very aromatic Mexican cinnamon, the one that they call canela, the really soft barked cinnamon there. Now to add a lovely aroma to this, I'm going to add a little zest of an orange and then let all of that simmer together until the sugar is completely dissolved and the spices have given up a lot of that aroma. And now for the coffee part of it, I'm going to make it in a French press pot. Take the press part out, and then I'm going to pour this hot syrup in there. No need to strain because the press actually does all the straining. Then I'm going to add to that about 3/4 cup of coarsely ground dark roast coffee. These pots always take a coarsely ground coffee. Make that as strong or as light as you like, and then when the guests arrive, we're going to pour boiling water in there, let it steep for about 5 minutes, and then press it down. So we've only got one last thing to make, and that's the national comfort breakfast of Mexico, Chilaquiles. Okay, I'm going to share with you my ace in the hole chilaquiles. Ace in the hole because they go together so incredibly fast. I'm going to combine 3 jars of roasted tomatillo salsa with a quart of chicken broth and then bring that all to a boil. Now when it's really boiling, add chips to it. Choose some really sturdy chips. I like to buy locally made ones that you'll get from a tortilla factory. So I'm going to put about 24 ounces. This makes enough for a huge crowd, which is one of the reasons that I love this very simple, very, very tasty recipe. That looks like it's going to be about right. Now to that, I'm going to add a little shredded chicken and a shredded cheese. And let that all just heat together. There goes my cheese. This will make a nice creamy sauce. And chicken you could add or not add to suit your own taste, I wanted to make this just a little bit more substantial. Turn it off now. Stir the chips down into the sauce. There should be just enough sauce that they almost settle into it. I'm going to put the top on it, and we're going to let them sit for about 3 or 4 minutes, just long enough for me to change my shirt, and then uncover it, spoon on a little Mexican crema. These are all optional toppings. A sliced white onion, some leaves of cilantro. Maybe you want to put a little Mexican queso añejo on there to kind of add another punch to it. Hey, and so what'd you think of the music I was playing? I've got a dynamite playlist ready for this beautiful brunch.
Welcome. Everybody hungry?
Yeah.
Good. Glad you're all here.
And we've got all kinds of things for an omelet down here, so start thinking about what you want to have in it.
Here's some chilaquiles. It's this green chilaquiles verde with some chicken, sour cream, onions on top.
I got a little oil hot in the pan here. These have the Mexican crema and some herbs from the garden into them. Okay, chorizo, anything else? Okay, the roasted poblanos. That should make a really, really good combination. If you want to know the truth, that's my favorite thing right there. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to slide that right onto your plate. To make these sort of like huevos rancheros style, I made the sauce that goes on huevos rancheros. Would you like a little of that? I think it's going to be really good on that. And I've got some cheese to sprinkle over here. This is a Mexican queso añejo. Okay, I think it's
good. I'm jealous.
Okay, we've got it. We got a few more to make here.
I have dessert. It's a mango tart with some chocolate filling on the bottom. It is so good. Yeah.
So, what do you say? Did we pull off our mini vacation in Mexico brunch?
I'll let you know when I get back to Chicago.